Excellent. I am on the East Coast and just want to make sure my internet's not failing me while I'm sharing. I'm Amanda Kennedy, and I'm going to be hosting the beginning of the evening for us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about traveling with baby. We're going to start by the doulas that are here sharing some tips with you. And then at the end, we'll do a little opportunity for some questions if you have any, and then some breakout rooms with our doulas. So I believe everyone is connected. So I'm just going to, yep. Wait for that. Yep. So that covers all the topics. So first we have Heidi sharing. She is a postpartum doula on our team, and I will let you take it away.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everybody. I'm glad you're here this evening. One of the topics that I'm going to discuss today is infants on airplanes, and specifically ear pressure. So for those of you who have been on an airplane, you probably are familiar with that feeling of your ears filling up and needing to clear them out, especially during takeoff and landing. And usually you do that by yawning or swallowing or chewing gum or sucking on a candy. And the trouble is when we have our infants with us that we can't tell them to do those things. So it's really important, or I just want to share a few tips so that if you do travel with your infant, hopefully you're set up for success. The first things are that if your baby's had an ear infection or even a head cold or ear surgery in the last 2 weeks, you really want to take your infant to get checked out by your physician to make sure that those little ear tubes are not clogged and filled with mucus, because that can make travel really tough for them. So then let's say everything's clear and you're going on your trip. My tips are pretty simple. You want to keep baby awake during the takeoff and landing phases, because that's when that air pressure is most different. And that's where you can get that change between the middle ear and the outer ear that can really cause pressure and pain for baby. So how you get the baby to clear their ears is by sucking. So breastfeeding or bottle feeding during takeoff and especially during descent is really important. Using a pacifier, or with older kids, a great way to do this is to get them to suck through a straw. And that will get that jaw movement and hopefully help clear their ears. Because it's really painful if we don't. And I can speak from experience, and this sort of leads me to another topic of if your baby is really uncomfortable in an airplane for whatever reason, and you can't really console them very well, just work on keeping calm and trying to block out any judgment you're feeling from the other passengers around you. It's really important that you maintain that, just caring about you and your baby and staying calm, because that's the best way to calm your baby down. So those are my little flying tips, and I will pass it on to the next doula.
Thank you, Heidi. I'm actually up next, and I did forget at the beginning to mention, can you please, if you were planning to stay for the breakout rooms, put that in the public chat, and then we can have the breakout rooms organized a little more quickly afterwards. Just put a note saying, yes, I'm staying. And my tip, I'm a postpartum doula on the team. I kind of have 2 points. One is that don't pack too much. Pack what you need, but remember that you can actually buy items for babies where you go typically. So, if you're traveling to somewhere that's more resort-like, it might be a little more challenging, but most places we vacation, you can go purchase more things you need. You're always going to buy cute souvenir tops, little things like that. So traveling with a little less will make it more manageable than having hundreds of bags to juggle around, because babies can accumulate a lot of things. And my other tip would be to build in break days or rest days. So making sure that you aren't fully booking yourselves every single day, that you're building in time for yourself to rest and for your baby and children to rest. It's a big shift from what they're used to. And for you, you're looking for a little bit of rest too. And vacation isn't quite the same when you go with children. So, building in some activity, but also really important is some rest days to take along the way. I'm going to pass it on next to Mandeep.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Mandeep, and I'm a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. Nice to meet you all. For me, my tip is that it's okay not to be on a schedule when you're on vacation, especially the first couple of days. And it's okay to lower your expectations. So, when you're on vacation with a baby, things may not go as planned, or the baby will have, a little bit of, a crying situation, or a little uneasiness. And just remember that it's okay. And to also, like, make sure, as I said, to lower your expectations, and not to, and just to be easy on yourself. And also helping to plan ahead, making sure you plan ahead everything. But sometimes even planning ahead, and then when you go on your trip and you start the first couple of days into it, and a few things may not fall into place, and you know what, it's okay. Just remember, just to be easy on yourself. That one little tantrum, or the one little uneasiness of the baby, one troubling night or something like that, will not, just remember that it's not going to ruin the rest of your vacation. So I just stress highly, just to be so easy on yourself. And just like Heidi said, if you're calm, baby will be calm as well.
Thank you, Mandeep. Next, we have Jessica Johnston, and she is a postpartum doula. I don't think she's talking about upright time, but we'll see. Maybe that's a part of it. Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. No, tonight I'm not going to talk about upright time, although it's super important whether you're at home or traveling. So, but I'm going to focus on a few travel packing tips tonight. So, I think that something that I learned from my own travels pre-baby, I was able to carry over into traveling with an infant and can still be useful. So the first thing would be creating a little like a toiletries bag for your baby. And you can buy something like pretty cheap from the dollar store, like this is my daughter's. And I created it for her when she was an infant, and I reach for it every single time we go, whether it's just to the cottage or a big trip, to another province. And I know she has her basics in there. So one of the things I would recommend is because babies, sometimes they have a lot of products. They're tiny, but we need lots of stuff for them. Sometimes we have diaper cream, maybe some Vaseline or coconut oil. You might have nipple cream for yourself, like just things that are all kind of baby related. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but I would recommend getting some little containers. Maybe it's an old jam jar, or you can purchase from, again, like the Dollarama. They have those smaller little plastic containers that you can portion out, a small amount of diaper cream, a small amount of Vaseline, etc. And then you have kind of everything that you need. Just make sure that you're labeling everything properly after you package everything into these little containers, and that way you're not taking like jugs of stuff with you, right? And then the second tip would be to pack clothing and accessories and stuff for your baby into Ziploc bags. So I used to do this for myself. Like, you can get these pretty big ones for things like sleepers and muslin blankets. And so you can kind of divide things up and have them sort of readily available to reach for in your luggage. Maybe your baby doesn't need its own piece of luggage, so you pack their stuff in your suitcase. But sometimes, I've encountered situations where you think you got it right. You have like your carry-on, and then you have the big luggage and the things that you think you need for the flight. And then you're in the airport, or you're at the train station, or like you're about to board, and you realize you actually need something that's in the luggage. Having your baby stuff like all kind of portioned out into sort of medium or large sized Ziploc bags means you can kind of open up and grab what you need without having to dismantle your whole luggage on the ground in the middle of the airport or wherever you are, or even in the car, like, wherever. So that is my tip. Thank you for coming tonight. And I'll pass on to Christy.
Hello, my name's Christy. I'm a postpartum as well as birth doula. I traveled a lot when my kids were little because I lived overseas. So most of my travel was air travel. I developed my little system for getting through the airport and security on my own with 2 kids, because often I was traveling on my own without my spouse. So my big tip was I always brought the umbrella stroller. And when you bring a stroller, you can usually take it all the way to the plane and then gate check it there. Rather than have like a giant stroller, I would have the umbrella stroller, and I would also bring a carrier for the baby. So rather than put the baby in the stroller, I would have my own backpack, baby strapped to my front, and then extra luggage in the stroller. And then I would have like all of the documents that I need just tucked into the little, like there's a little baggy zipper flap on the back of the stroller, right there where I need them. By not having to like pull my luggage around, I was able to control the older child a little bit easier. And it was a lot easier also to get everything out through security. So plop it all down on the things one at a time. Of course, we'd have to take the baby out of the carrier through security, but I can hold her at arm's length and have them pat me down and pat her down and get through security pretty quickly. So the thing with the umbrella stroller is it's much easier to use overseas and a lot of other places. It's lighter, perhaps less expensive than the big modular strollers. And so if it goes under the plane and gets a little dirty or damaged or whatever, it's not as big a deal. But especially when you're traveling to places like that are perhaps more ancient than here in North America, you're going to encounter a lot of streets that maybe aren't stroller friendly, shops and places that you want to take a stroller, and you don't want to have something that's really big and wide. So the umbrella stroller was really good. And even some airports, if you're transiting, will also have their own umbrella strollers that you can rent or borrow while you're at the airport. So yeah, it seems paradoxical that I would take the stroller, but also carry my baby without putting the baby in the stroller. But having the carrier was also a lot easier to maneuver everybody onto the plane and get our stuff into the overhead compartments and whatnot when I was holding the baby. So the carrier that I would usually take, if the baby was under 3 months, I would use a stretchy wrap, like a Moby wrap. And if the baby was bigger, then I used my original Ergo carrier. Just both because it's easy to take the baby in and out of those ones without taking the carrier off, if that makes sense. So those are my tips. And I'm passing on to Sharon.
Good evening, everyone. So I have way too much to say, so they put me at the end. I'm going to start by talking about the car. And this is one thing that everybody knows, but just a little reminder to never leave your baby in the car. You think, oh, how could anybody do that? That's negligence. It really isn't. It's baby brain, and people just have too many things on their mind. So just always do little trips or tricks that will remind you that you have the baby in the back seat. You can put your phone in the car seat. Most people won't leave the car without their phone or their wallet. You can put your ring on the opposite hand so that you're like, what's this reminding me of? Or you can get like a little bracelet for yourself that reminds you. And, that's sad that this does happen, but It's not always just negligent people. Sometimes we're just baby brain and we're just too busy. The next thing I want to tell you about the car is it's an actual myth that babies like the car. Not all babies like the car. And, sometimes people go, oh, when the baby's fussy, just take him for a car ride. And that is some babies, but that is not all babies. Some babies hate the car. And I know that firsthand. So that can be challenging if you're trying to even do short trips to the doctor or visit family or friends, and they just hate going in the car. The one thing we found that worked good with my grandson was loud music, usually Michael Jackson. Don't know about other kids. So that's that. Give yourself lots of time if you're going on a bit of a road trip. Don't try and rush. Sometimes it's good to go in the off hours, like drive at night when there's less chance of traffic jams. Baby might sleep a little bit better. They do recommend that you take lots of breaks. If your baby's in a car seat, you're not supposed to let them sleep in the car seat. That's not a bed. And you are supposed to take breaks and get them out of the car seat. So that's something that we don't always think about. And I always recommend one of those neck pillows so they're not scrunched. The poor guys sleeping, their head is like this and getting a sore neck while you're driving. Just remember that babies' temperature is important. They don't sweat when they're little. So keeping an eye on their temperature. If you're in the car, that's pretty easy to do. But once you're out of the car, keep an eye on their temperature because you don't want them to overheat. You might be at the beach and think, oh, the breeze is great, I'm not hot, whatever. But babies do overheat quite easily. So keep an eye on their temperature. Boating safety, absolutely a life jacket. And the worst thing is those floaty things that we think, oh, those are great, and put the baby in the floaty and nothing's going to happen. You have to keep them at arm's length. You can't let them just float off, or if you're in a pool or something and think they're fine. It takes a split second for something to go wrong. So just remember that during your water time. My suggestion for dining out, if you are dining out, is to try and go in the off hours. Try and go be the early bird. There's less lineups. Sometimes there are lineups to get into restaurants. There's usually no lineup at like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. You usually get faster service, better service. And if the baby is having a meltdown, there's less people around you that you're going to stress that you're upsetting. So that's another thing. Another thing is to label all of your bags. So believe it or not, so many people have the same diaper bag. And it's very easy if you're somewhere to put down your diaper bag and someone else picks it up, or vice versa. So I always suggest in anything that you have, whether it's your carrier, your stroller, your backpack, your baby stuff, if you have a business card that just has your phone number and your name, not your address, it's always good to keep that so that if ever you lose something, it's easy to identify. And if someone finds it, it's easy for them to call you. So keep a business card and anything like that. Another thing is if you are traveling with a toddler, and they have their favorite foods that you may not find if you're eating out, is to pre-portion their food into ice cube trays and freeze them. And that way you've got pretty much an instant meal for them when you get wherever you're going. And that way, you're not looking for a place that has, mashed carrots and peas for you or something. So it's sometimes an easy way if you've got them all just cubed up and you've got like a little meal for them. Also, if your baby has a bottle, don't worry about a bottle warmer, because almost any place will give you a cup of hot water, even a drive-through, and just put the bottle in there for 5 minutes. The baby milk does not have to be warm after about 6 weeks. Lots of babies prefer it room temperature or cold. You just don't want it to be ice cold. So just putting it in a cup of hot water is going to definitely make it comfortable for the baby. Things that you might want to take. I'm sure these are things that people would think about, but maybe making a list. Baby sunscreen. Remember how sensitive their skin is. Very sensitive. And just because it's a cloudy day or you're under an umbrella or under a tree doesn't mean they won't burn. So baby sunscreen, reapply it lots. Baby hat. Get the biggest hat you can find for your baby to cover them up. Baby bug spray, like a lot of the DEET and stuff like that is not recommended for a baby. So do a bit of research and find something that might help keep bugs away from the baby. But usually the best thing is netting. Get the baby netting and figure out a way, whether they're in their stroller or if you're able to take a pack and play or whatever. But if you can get that netting around them, that saves all kinds of bites and stings. And, you know, at the beach, there's even sand fleas that can get them. So that's something. After sun lotion, we sometimes forget about that. I like a spray bottle, a mister. So, you know, just a little squirt here and there to cool you off. And I always traveled with lots of wet face cloths in Ziploc bags. So 5 or 6 wet face cloths. You know, if there's a bit of a mess, you've got something nice and wet, but it's also good to cool the baby down. Just wipe the baby down with a wet face cloth. Will cool them down and make them much more comfortable. Always pack lots of Ziploc bags. Like some of the girls said, packing before you go, but having them when you're away, there's always something that you would like to take with you and think, oh, I wish I had a Ziploc bag. So take those with you. Usually when you fly, you don't have to pay for a car seat or a stroller. You can check with your airlines, but those are sometimes people don't want to take them because they think it's part of their luggage things. But a lot of times that they include that. And what I would suggest you don't take is like a bassinet or crib. If you're staying in a hotel, just heads up to them early. They usually always have a little bassinet or pack and play or something for your baby. And if you're going to stay with family, put it out there to see what they can come up with through friends and family to have these things for you. So just to make it easier for you, not trying to lug all these things. So that's me. That's all my words of wisdom and crazy stuff. And that's why I went last, because I always have way too much to say. But I hope that I get to see you guys in the breakout rooms. I hope all of our little tidbits are helpful for you sometime when you're out with your little ones. And I'll see you in the breakout rooms.
Thank you, Sharon. So next we are going to join the breakout rooms. We're going to shut the slideshow down and set those rooms up. Basically, what will happen is that you will have your own breakout